Welcome to Desperately Seeking Christ. I'm Yvonne, and today I have something I want to share with you, so stay tuned. I have a confession to make, so here it goes. Hi, my name is Yvonne, and I'm done giving you a part of me. Now I know that with such a declaration, it can leave some of you scratching your heads. So let me explain. In 2020, I felt led to start the Desperately Seeking Christ channel here on YouTube. It was my intent to release videos on topics that, as our tagline says, would be pointing the way to the one who wants to be found. I was excited to be using modern day technology to share the message of God's love through His Son Jesus Christ, which did mean learning the mastery of video and editing, and boy, do I have bloopers from that task. So why did I stop for a while? Well, I experienced the Peter effect. In Matthew chapter 14, verses 28 through 31, there's the story of Jesus who, in the midst of a storm, came walking on choppy waves to the boat where his disciples were. Now, when the disciples seen him, they were sorely afraid, so much so that they even called Jesus a ghost. But one of his disciples, by the name of Peter, asked Jesus if he too could do the same and walk on water. Now, without disrespect, I believe that might have been the original Me Too movement. Verse 29 is a powerful verse because Jesus spoke only one word until verse 31, come. With that one word, every guarantee was given to Peter that his request would be honored. So, Peter started off strong, doing just as his Lord was doing, walking on water. But then Peter began to do what most of us do in hard situations. He took his eyes off the Lord and looked at his surroundings. And when he did, he began to sink. Then Jesus did only what he could do. The Bible tells us in verse 31 that immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. His next words are still relevant for every Christian believer today. Jesus said, "You of little faith." He said, "Why did you doubt?" That's because the biggest killer of faith is doubt. We're told that in Hebrews chapter 11, 6 through 8, the Bible tells us that without faith, it is impossible to please God because you have to believe that He is able. That means that we have to put aside or even put down all of our intellect, thoughts, and opinions and the like and trust God as we are led by His Spirit to do and say in boldness what He tells us to. Our intellect otherwise can lead us astray, and sometimes the consequences can be immeasurable. Recently, our family went on a trip. We were a large group of travelers, a total of 10 to be exact. The trip itself was great, and we had so many memories that we now have. However, as with any large group, planning is a must. I thought, well, I've got every box checked off, even getting to the airport early. Although I didn't expect that even with planning, we would run into as many people and traffic at the airport so early in the morning. So I regrouped and divided up different people to do different tasks. One person took the rental car back, another person looked after the younger travelers. I was in charge of getting the luggage checked in. To make my job easier, I employed the help of one of the older children to stand in line just to keep a place for check-in of our luggage. Then, with the assistance of a wonderful airline counter worker, we got to work. And we were just finishing the luggage to take it to the counter before it closed. And I was getting ready to do a happy dance because I was excited that everything was working out just like I planned. That was until I looked up and saw the person who was supposed to be in line walking back towards me. I panicked and asked, "Why aren't you in line?" To which they replied, "I heard over the loudspeaker that it was too late to board for our destination, so I got out of line." What this teenager didn't know is that there are many flights from different airlines flying to the same destination. And the one they heard was not our flight. Our flight still had an hour before it left. With that, I went to the back of the packed line, and you may have guessed we missed our flight by 2 minutes of not being able to get our luggage checked. This is an example of why it is so important that we listen to the Spirit of God's direction and instruction. As it often happens to many of us, we attempt to use our God-given human intellect in spiritual matters where faith and trust should be applied. And so that is the reason I took a hiatus for a moment, because I began to question the direction that God gave me about desperately seeking Christ, thinking that I didn't have something to say. Well, recently I was reminded again that just as the prophet Jeremiah in the Old Testament, I have the Spirit of God within me. And because of this, through His grace and mercy and my faith in Him, I do have something to say. So as it says in Colossians chapter 3, verses 23 to 24, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. And also Colossians chapter 4, 2 through 5, continue in prayer and watching the same with thanksgiving, with all praying also for us, that God will open unto us a door of utterance to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am also in bonds, that I may make it manifest as I ought to speak. So I'm back to continue this work that was given to me, which is to point the way to the one who wants to be found. I encourage you to join me, and together we will discover the mystery in God's Word. If you haven't done so yet, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell, as you don't want to miss any of the mysteries that we're going to find in God's Word. I'm Yvonne, and until next time, keep desperately seeking Christ. Bye-bye.